Hi, everyone. I just wanted to have a little chat with you about what I am personally watching for the Rapture, which date. And actually, it's an interesting place because right now I'm not watching just one date. Um, the last video I shared, I talked about the Rapture process, and that process very clearly points to October 29 through 30, I believe. But actually, because Elijah did not get raptured right at the fourth waymark of that process, the final waymark, which would correspond with October 29 and 30, I'm not actually expecting the rapture on October 29 and 30 like I used to. The recent study I did to prepare for that video showed me no, it's actually not the highest watch, even though it is on the Julian calendar October 16 through 17. And what I understand about this all is that, Jesus communicated to Joshua Malekla that he was going to begin the rapture process on September 23 or 24 of 2025. And that did happen. He came down and began to rapture us. And so every day is essentially the rapture of the church now. The process is progressing. And when Jesus told Joshua on the 16th and 17th of October, I will rapture the church, he wasn't really promising to actually evacuate us from the earth on that day. He was just pointing out that day as very significant in this rapture process. That's how I understand that. Given that we're in the process and Jesus is not actually showing us by a direct declaration which day he's going to evacuate us from the earth on. And so I'm not necessarily watching. I mean, it could happen on those days, but I just don't think it's what the pattern says. I think that we should look a little beyond October 29 through 30 for the event we're all anticipating. So what should we look to? I've heard talk of the 17th day of the second month, like the flood. It started on the 17th day of the second month, and on the Hebrew civil calendar, that would be November 8th. That's a very good watch day. I think that that's a very high watch. But I would actually prefer, based on the story of Noah, Heshvan 10, the 10th day of the second month on the Hebrew calendar, which would be November 1. And the reason for that is because that's the day Noah actually entered the ark. And I think that that's more like what we're doing when we get raptured. We're entering that ark. And that also happens to be November 1, also happens to be the 40th day if September 23 was the first day. So that's pretty cool because we started the rapture process, and 40 years after the Exodus, which is what Jesus called the rapture process when he was talking with Joshua, 40 years after the Exodus began, it completed when they entered the promised land. So could it be that 40 days after we began the rapture process, it concludes with our evacuation? I think that November 1 is extremely high watch. It also happens to be All Saints Day, which is where the Christian church has long celebrated and memorialized the departed saints. Now, the day right after that, November 2, happens to be International Day of Remembrance of or Prayer for the Persecuted Church. I think that that is really cool. What a day to be raptured on there, but it doesn't have the same other correspondences that November 1 has. So then right before November 1 is, of course, Halloween, October 31. It's Reformation Day. And talk about predictive programming. If the devil knew something about when the rapture would maybe happen, wow, what a day to sanctify for himself. There's a really good Bible study that can be made for why the rapture should happen on Halloween. So I have seen that. I've liked that. And I think that that's incredibly high watch. So all of these dates, the 31st, the 1st of November, and the 2nd of November. Oh, I gotta tell you about the 4th of November, of course. The 4th of November happens to be exactly 7 biblical prophetic years, which are 360 days each, 7 of those years before the day that Joshua was told the second coming would happen on, September 15 of 2032, on the Julian calendar. And I still believe Jesus was likely talking about the Julian calendar when he said the 23rd through the 24th of September 2025 and the 15th of September 2032. So I think that November 4 is when the 7-year tribulation begins. Whether or not we get raptured before or just after that, to me, it doesn't say in the Bible that we have to be caught away right before the 7 years. It doesn't say that anywhere. If we're just a few days into it, that's fine too. But even that day, maybe it's that very day that we get raptured, November 4. There's other things that could be said about November 4. Maybe I'm going to make a video in the future talking more specifically about several of these watch dates, or maybe just one, if the Lord shows me more about why one stands out as dominant above the others. Right now, I think that November 1 is my favorite, All Saints Day for the rapture. I would like to hear what you guys think. I know that a major case is being made by a friend of mine for November 8th, and I personally have personal confirmation that that is an extremely high watch day from years ago. And in fact, I experienced such an incredible, like rapture watching experience back in 2022 when I first began intensively watching from October 29 specifically to November 8. So to me, this whole range has already been pre-confirmed as exceedingly high watch. And very important things happened both on the 29th, on the 31st, on November 1st, on November 4, and on November 8. All of this was highlighted. All of those points in the window there were highlighted to me personally and to my wife back in 2022. And we just believe that the end of a thing is declared by the beginning, according to Isaiah 46:10. So we are crazy excited about this window of high watch here. Don't know exactly what day. And I just want to say something else. I'm all about discovering the day and the hour of the rapture. But that being said, I don't believe anyone has ever known the day or the hour of the rapture. Nobody knows it. Nobody has known it. But that doesn't mean nobody ever will know it, of course. Of course we're going to know it. When it happens, of course we'll know it. So Jesus couldn't possibly have been saying, no man will ever know the day and the hour of the rapture. That is for certain. And I believe the Bible says, Amos 3:7, that everything's going to be revealed to his servants, the prophets. So even all of the secrets. And this is definitely a secret, but it's going to be revealed. We never know exactly when it's been revealed, but we keep thinking, this is it. I have the answer. It has been revealed to me. But we're wrong. But that's okay. We try again, because the only way to look for something seriously is to look in specific places or at specific times for it. If you don't find it, you check another expected place or time specifically. And that's the only way to really watch, only way to really look. That's why we do this. And we're going to do it again and again until we find it. But I am just so excited that at least I think I've found the window. I think I have found a window in time in which the rapture will happen. I've never been more excited in all of my life for a period of time to see the rapture. It's going to be October 29 through November 8. And probably somebody could make a case for November 11, but no, I'm gonna stick with November 8 being the end of this high watch. And in fact, it's sort of the end of the high watch season that comes around every year, I would say. That doesn't mean we stop watching just because the season passes, but I just don't think it will pass this time. I think that we got it. And if we don't, we keep watching. But I'm so excited. I want you to get excited. I want you guys to talk to me about what you think is highest watch specifically, because I believe God's going to show us more ahead of time. He's going to show us the day and the hour ahead of time. That's what I believe. And so I'm looking for that. I'm praying toward that. I think I have a range here in which it may happen, but I think we can get a lot more specific understanding of what is most likely. So God bless. I will talk to you in the next video.